Okay, so welcome to Philosophy of Science, Phil 3550. My name is Joel Bolivian. I'm the instructor for the course, and I'm just really excited for this class, and I'm really stoked to get to know some of you and learn together, grow together. It's going to be fun. So this is a class on the philosophy of science. It's a really interesting subject area. And I've tried to craft the class so that it has what I think are the most interesting topics in the philosophy of science. And hopefully you'll fall in love with some of these as well. So I certainly don't think it's going to be a boring class. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let me just say a little bit about myself, and then I'll start talking more about the class and what to expect and the grading and so on. So my name is Joel. I study philosophy at Western. I'm a grad student, and my research interests are in the philosophy of science. In particular, I'm really interested in hypothesis evaluation. So how do we determine whether one hypothesis is better than another? In particular, how do we determine whether one hypothesis is more likely to be true? And why think that our inferential methodologies, our methods for getting at the truth, why I think they actually get us to the truth. So I think these are really important and interesting questions. I'm also interested in epistemology, which deals with knowledge and justification of belief. I have recently started getting into practical ethics. In particular, the issue of global poverty is really interesting to me. Yeah, I play soccer, I play drums, and love to nerd out on philosophy and other things. Science, I'm really interested in science, in particular the history of astronomy, which we will be discussing this semester. So enough about me. When you get a chance, go to the discussion section of the course and tell the class a little bit about yourself. You'll get some points for doing this, so do it. Just tell us what your interests are, what you like to do for fun. Tell us what you study, what your academic interests are, and so on. Should be fun. And say hi to someone else. So, again, this class is the philosophy of science. Let me give you a brief overview of the content. So broadly, we're covering 3 different topics. We're going to start by discussing what science is. So this is what's called the demarcation issue. So what is the boundary that distinguishes science from other disciplines? Intuitively, science isn't, say, religion, or science isn't law. Science isn't astrology. Science isn't a whole bunch of other things. Seems like we can intuitively say that science is sort of distinct. Well, in virtue of what, or because of what, is science different? And so we're going to spend the first 2 weeks looking at this question and looking at some of the philosophers who've weighed in on this. It's a really fun issue. How is science different than religion? Is there any overlap? What makes science different than pseudoscience, fake science, or non-science? Next, we're going to get into the question of scientific method or scientific reasoning. So often people will say that what makes science unique is the method it uses. And so this demands a bit of exploration. Let's look into this. What is the scientific method? And so we're going to look at some of the challenges and puzzles to scientific reasoning. Can we get at the truth? Can evidence help us determine whether one hypothesis is more likely to be true than another? There are really fun and fascinating challenges and puzzles that can be explored. So we're going to do that. And then the last third of the course, we're going to look at explanation and truth. So we're going to look at explanatory reasoning. And that's really fascinating stuff. And we're going to look into the question, why believe that there are things like atoms and electrons and quarks, gravitational fields, black holes, things that we can't directly observe. So we're going to ask those sorts of questions. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then throughout the whole course, every module, we're going to be doing a little bit on the history of astronomy. So let me be clear. Astronomy is not astrology. Okay, so they sound similar, In fact, I was just talking to a student um, about my class, and not anyone in the class, and they were asking me what I was going to teach, and I said, well, I just explained what we're going to learn, and then I said we're going to talk about the history of astronomy. And the student proceeded to talk about how like constellations can impact our lives, and how she's really interested in astronomy. And I realized that we were talking about different things. So astrology has to do with how the constellations like impact our lives. I'm not totally sure what it all involves. Maybe some of you can enlighten me. But we're talking about something else, astronomy, which is the study of the heavens, the study of the planets and their motions, and the solar system. So going as far back as the ancient Greeks, people have been doing astronomy and have been trying to figure out, what are those things up in the sky, and yeah, where is our place in the solar system and in the universe? So we're going to look at how people have wrestled with these questions and what their theories were, and what evidence they gave in support of their theories. So it's going to be really fun. We're going to go from Aristotle all the way to Galileo. So let me say a bit about the books we're going to be using. The first book you're going to need to get is this book called Worldviews by Richard DeWitt. It's a really good book. It's an introduction to the history and philosophy of science. DeWitt just offers a really good introduction to some of the issues we'll cover. But primarily we'll be using this book for our discussion of the history of astronomy. So in it he talks about Aristotle's view of the universe. He talks about Ptolemy's model of the solar system, the Copernican model, and it's just really easy, really accessible. I think you'll really enjoy it. And the chapters are like super short, so get this book. And the second book that's required is a book by Peter Lipton. I don't have it with me, unfortunately, but it's called Inference to the Best Explanation. And we're going to be drawing from that book as well. So Inference to the Best Explanation by Peter Lipton. All of this is on the syllabus. And if you'd like, this is not required, but it's certainly recommended. This is an anthology by Martin Curd, J.A. Cover, and Christopher Pincock. So this is a really great anthology. It has a whole bunch of essays that are really important. Many of the essays we'll be reading in class are found in this anthology. You don't have to buy it, but if you prefer a hard copy, I recommend getting this. So I'll provide links and PDFs of all the other readings we'll be doing. But if you really want a hard copy, I recommend getting this. In fact, here's a bit of advice, here's a tip. I highly recommend printing off some of the readings and like taking notes as you're reading through it, and thinking about the material rather than just reading it off the screen. Or if you can download it as a PDF and put comments in the margins, that's really helpful. And then when you do research or write a paper or have an exam, you can go back to your notes and look at the highlighted areas or look at the comments. So I really encourage you, especially if you're like thinking of going further in philosophy, take notes, download the readings as PDFs, and like write comments and highlight stuff and get into it. So now finally I want to talk a little bit about the grading. So there are, again, you can find this all in the syllabus, so I'll just say a brief word about it. So 25% of your grade is going to come from discussion tasks, and there are 5 you're required to do. 5 discussion tasks. They're each worth 5 points. And this is just going to involve responding to some of the reading in the discussion section on e-learning, or even reacting to someone else, and I'll have more to say about that in the syllabus. So I'll even give you questions and prompts so you can react to some of the material. So 25% of your grade is discussion tasks, interacting with others or posting something in the discussion area. You're also going to have 3 reading quizzes. They're really simple, they're really short. I hate like busy work kind of quizzes. I'm not interested in tricking you. Like, it's all straightforward. and it's all from the reading, it's all from the videos, and those are worth 5 points each. So all these are going to be quizzes about the history of astronomy. So it shouldn't be hard. And 40% of the grade comes from critical thinking tasks. You have 5 critical thinking tasks. These are just going to like test your reasoning skills and like test your ability to comprehend the material. They're pretty fun. They're not difficult either. So that's 40% of your grade. These are 5. There are 5 of those. And then you're not required to write a final paper. I'm not going to require that. But you do have to write a summary paper. So you have 1 summary paper. This is worth 10% of your grade. And I just want to test your ability to articulate a debate in the philosophy of science. And so you, at some point in the semester, you need to choose a debate that we're discussing and write a summary of what the key players are saying. This won't have to be more than 3 pages is fine. I'll have this all in the syllabus. And then there's the final exam. The final exam is worth 10% of your grade. And it's going to be cumulative, but it won't be super difficult. Like, I'm not interested in like these really outlandish and extravagant quizzes. So you might be wondering, why is the final exam only 10% of our grade? That's because on like online classes, we really want the rest of the course to be interactive. And so we were encouraged to set it up in such a way that there's a lot going on throughout the week. Hopefully not too much. I mean, I don't really enjoy busy work, so I hope that the class isn't like that. So other than discussion tasks, writing a post and reacting to someone else, say something about the reading, share some thoughts, share a question, and so on. There's not much else to do. Just the quizzes, you'll find them there. The critical thinking tasks, I'll have those posted, and then 1 summary paper. So it's pretty straightforward. I really look forward to this, and I think you guys are really going to grow and like gain a lot from this course. But again, as in most things, it depends how much you put in. So if you do the reading, watch the videos, watch the lectures, I think you'll really gain a lot and come out with a new perspective and a new set of skills. So having said that, feel free to go write a little bit about yourself in the discussion area, and I look forward to interacting more in the future. Okay.